Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unaired, the show where we cover TV shows that were canceled with episodes left unaired, review them, and then pitch our ideas for how we think they could have continued. I'm Ed, and we have a very special guest this week. We have Drew from Headline Heroes.
Hi, Ed. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad that you are here.
Yes.
Do you want to give everybody a quick, brief rundown of what your show is?
Oh, sure. Well, my show is Headline Heroes. I am one of the co-hosts. The other two are Nathan and Tanner. And what we do is we take crazy, bizarre, out there news headlines. We randomly select them at the beginning of the episode, and we use them to create a comic book or superhero or sometimes villain origin story. So we have a lot of fun with it. We make some pretty crazy stuff, especially lately. I think we've been really goofy lately.
Yeah, you guys always knock it out of the park.
Well, thank you.
Especially with some very, very bizarre headlines.
Yeah, sometimes they're hard. But yeah, we haven't had to completely ditch a headline lately, but we used to have to do that all the time. But yeah, now it's just yep, we'll do this one. All right, what can we do? And usually you throw enough you throw enough spaghetti at the wall and eventually you'll create a superhero. So
especially if that superhero is Spaghetti Man.
Yeah, we haven't done him yet, but I think that's inevitable. We have a theme on our show where food tends to be we tend to go off on food for sure.
So it seems a natural fit that this week. So I sent Drew a list of TV shows we haven't covered, and he picked The Adventures of Super Pup, which, seems like a natural pick for a guy that's on Headline Heroes, a show about superheroes, supervillains.
I was so wrong.
Yeah, you were definitely you definitely picked quite the TV show.
Yeah.
So this show is our oldest show to date. It's from 1958, and according to Wikipedia, they were trying to capitalize on the ending of The Adventures of Superman by making a TV show which is Superman, but everybody is dressed as a dog.
Yep. It's a super McGruff or something. It's like Superman, except it's the same show.
Essentially.
Except way worse.
Those Chuck E. Cheese animatronics?
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
It felt like a Chuck E. Cheese fever dream to me.
Which, thinking back at all the times I went to Chuck E. Cheese, I think it was all just a fever dream. You go back, you think about Chuck E. Cheese, and I don't know, the pizza wasn't that good. The animatronics, terrifying. The games were fun. But yeah, that is a fair analysis. Chuck E. Cheese, fever dream.
Some kid always threw up in the ball pit.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it was me.
So this show, like I said, premiered in technically it didn't ever air, but it was made in 1958. And I don't think it ever got shopped around to any networks.
You don't think, this show wasn't, No, that's fair.
I'm surprised they didn't, shop it around to whatever network made The Adventures of Superman to make, a Saturday morning version of it.
That would have made the most sense. You've looked more into its history than I, and I actually kind of assumed that was maybe the case with it, but nope. Was it in any way, besides the fact that it was basically the same concept, were there writers or maybe?
Yeah, I don't know if there are writers as much as somebody, found a futuristic computer, clicked Control F, and made dog puns for all of the names.
Some guy just I have an idea, and it was a bad idea. Just he looks at his dog. Yep, that should do it.
Oh, someone was super wasted or super stoned when they made this.
Probably. No, yeah, you would have to be, basically.
They're what if Superman was a dog?
Super Pup.
Super Pup. So, this show starts off with a very 1950s intro saying, brought to you by, I forget what the product name was. I forgot to write it down.
Don't remember either. I didn't write it down.
It was I don't even think they specifically mentioned the product, but they were like, brought to you by so and so's best product ever. And then a mouse pops out of a drawer.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Super Pup's awesome.
The only not dog character, I guess.
Legitimately, the only character that's not a dog is a mouse that lives in his drawer.
Yep. Was that like the Jimmy Olsen equivalent, do you think?
That's what I was thinking. Like, immediately the first thought I thought was Jimmy Olsen.
And they didn't name him either, so.
Yeah, but that's Superman's best friend. So,
Yeah, gotta.
it seems like it's gotta be.
It's gotta be. Minnie Olsen? I don't know.
I like that. Minnie Olsen.
Minnie Olsen. All right.
Mainly because I can't think of any other puns.
Yeah. It's pretty tough.
So the intro is basically like, faster than the speediest jet, more powerful than the world's most powerful rocket, able to fly around the world faster than you can say Super Pup. And it's basically Super Pup just in front of a green screen and winds blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that Super Pup is really Bark Bent, the dog version of Clark Kent.
Of course.
And he's a reporter for, not the Daily Planet, he's a reporter for the Daily Bugle.
Can we talk about that? I thought I was having an existential crisis.
Oh no, I was losing my shit.
And then I was just like, hold on. But Daily Bugle that's Spider-Man. And then I was like, am I wrong? Have I been wrong? Have I always been wrong? And then I looked it up. The Daily Bugle and Spider-Man didn't appear until like 4 years after this. So I guess that makes sense.
Oh, I didn't even look into it, but I was like,
I had to. I needed to.
oh my god. I was like, when is J. Jonah Jameson gonna burst in and be like, I need pictures of Super Pup?
Pictures! I need pictures. The biting on that cigar. Probably J.K. Simmons. He's probably that old.
Oh yeah. And like J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons, both have first names with initials.
And it's the same. The first one is the same.
First one is the same.
Yeah, I think.
I think we need to get Toby from Secret Transmissions over here
Yes.
to uncover this conspiracy.
Toby, you hear this? Please get back to us. Tweet at us. We need to know.
We need to know. Research into J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson.
Equal J. Jonah Jameson.
Equal J. Jonah Jameson. So the first shot of this show is an intercom literally bouncing around rather than ringing. It's bouncing around. And the mouse Jimmy Olsen is like, hey, Bark Bent, you got to answer that. And it turns out it is his boss saying, hey, I need you to come in here.
From probably the next room.
From literally the next room. He could knock on the wall and be like, hey, could you come in here? So the mouse is kind of like scared, puts a do not disturb sign on the drawer, closes the drawer.
I also want to talk about that. What was that about?
I'm not quite sure. Does this mouse live in the drawer?
They never address why the mouse put up a do not disturb sign.
They never address the mouse in general.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Fair. Good point, Ed.
So the boss is, instead of Perry White, who is Superman's boss, it is Terry Bite, to go with the dog puns, much like Bark Bent. Mm-hmm. Which, I want to talk about that for a second. Why not Bark Kent?
I think they wanted to keep that alliteration, maybe?
You know what? Alliteration is everything, so you might be right.
That, or they had to make so many changes in order to not get copyright infringement.
Yeah, they're trying to adhere to the parody law.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could have named this guy Perry Bite. Ooh, but that doesn't sound good. Terry Bite sounds better.
So he's like, hey, congratulations to you and Pamela Poodle for your coverage of Professor Sheepdip and his story. Which Professor Sheepdip is the villain of this episode and series because this never made it past a pilot. I could have sworn, I had to rewind it because I thought he said Professor Sheepdick.
That would have been better because I don't know why dip was, I don't, sheep, because this is obviously a sheepdog.
Oh, it looks 100% like Tim Allen from The Shaggy Dog. It is a sheepdog.
Oh, why did you have to bring that into this? No.
I'm contractually obligated to bring up a Tim Allen reference in every episode.
Oh my God. What did you do? Did he save your life or something?
Have you ever seen The 100 Good Deeds of Eddie McDowd? It's like that.
Oh, okay. Except a lot more power or something.
Yeah, a lot of Tim Allen references.
I can't even do the grunt. That's good. There you go.
So, essentially, Perry White, after he congratulates them on the story, Super Pup, aka Bark Bent, is just like, wow, like, you don't have to worry about Sheep Dip. He's never going to break out of prison. And then it cuts immediately to Sheep Dip, and he's like, oh, am I? He breaks the fourth wall twice in this episode.
I did not notice the first one. I didn't really notice that one, but I definitely noticed the second one, yeah.
Yeah, no, the second one is exactly like the first one.
I think that implies Professor Sheepdick has many other powers. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, do you think he's Deadpool? He's Sheeppool.
He could be. He's Sheeppool. Yep, we busted it wide open.
Ryan Reynolds, we're waiting for you to confirm or deny.
That or a remake. We would also take a remake with you.
We would.
In that role. Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, Deadpool 2. Throw him in there. So.
And Green Lantern, why not?
Yeah, Green Lantern. He can do it.
Yeah, sure.
So, he takes a saw, which I don't know how he got a saw into prison, but he takes a saw and saws apart the bars of his jail cell.
Yep.
He breaks out with his wolf henchman, who never gets a name.
Doesn't get a name.
And the beagle. I think it's a beagle. It looks like a beagle.
His name is Sergeant Beagle.
Sergeant Beagle. Well,
and
there we go.
He is my favorite character.
He's taking a snooze, and he lifts his ear when he hears the sawing. It doesn't really do anything. And then finally, as the wolf henchman is helping Sheep Dip break out of prison, he's like, oh fuck, something's going on. He goes into the cell. There's a big ass hole in the cell, but he still unlocks the door and goes through the door.
I know, that baffled me.
Instead
there's a hole. Maybe he's under the bed.
Yeah.
Better check under the pillows. I don't know. Where could they be?
He literally searched every inch of this cell.
He's a police sergeant. He has a moral obligation to really sleuth things out. He is also a beagle, so he's got to get in there, smell things out before he can pursue other leads.
That's what bothered me. He didn't even sniff.
Oh. Yeah. That's true. Beagle, known scent dog.
So Sheep Dip and his henchmen escape in their car, and they're driving through a desert, and we see essentially 3 or 4 shots of the desert of them driving through. It's literally the same exact shot, but shown 3 or 4 times.
And it went way too long.
Way too long.
Way too long. It's like the beginning of 2001, A Space Odyssey. It was just like, oh my God. And, well, no, that's not even fair, because that sequence in 2001 was very pretty and beautiful, and I liked it. This just sucked.
This just sucked and had weird, like, people with dog helmets on.
What bugged me the most is that they did a lot of work to make other dogs' mouths move, but that wolf didn't do anything. It was just like he was talking and his mouth wasn't moving at all.
That's true. I forgot to mention this. The only 2 dogs I physically saw their mouths move was Terry Bite, and that's only when he was very pissed off at Super Pup, and he started yelling
really
at him.
Emphasize it.
And then at the very end, Pamela Poodle. She starts talking.
Did Bark do it? You would think that he would do it at least.
I didn't even see his mouth move. He very well could have. I will admit, I did have to take a break every 2 minutes from this viewing.
Yeah, it was only 20 minutes long, but I was just like, God almighty.
Yeah, it felt
Save
like
me.
longer.
Yeah. Also during that sequence, you were probably getting to it, but Sergeant Bailey's response to them getting away where he pulled a cannon out. Like, he sees them getting away, pulls a small cannon out, says his catchphrase, "You can't escape the long arm of the law," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then fires a cannon. And I watched it yesterday, and for the life of me, I can't remember. Did it actually work, or did it just blow up?
Oh no, the cannon just blew up, blew him backwards, didn't even hit Professor Sheepdip.
Yeah, the fact that he survived that explosion is something I'm going to touch on a little later. So that's a little spoiler, not a spoiler, a little sneak peek at what's to come.
You know, I want you to know, in my notes I wrote, the sergeant pulls a fucking cannon out of nowhere and shoots it.
He had it right next to that wall.
Yeah, and then he decides, oh, you know what? I should probably chase them.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to start his car, bangs on the hood, and then it finally starts. And he chases after them. Professor Sheepdip finds a sign that says, "This way to the city." He turns it around, and already written on it are, they went that way.
Yep.
The sergeant gets fooled by this.
That classic trope.
Classic. That's like a Looney Tunes type thing right there.
The sign, like, it seemed to be like, when I first saw it, it seemed to be just a one-way road, like just one direction, the other direction. So it was just like, when he turned the sign around to say they went that way, it seemed like it was just like pointing, oh, turn around, you should go back the other way. I don't know. But I think Sergeant Beagle ended up like, nah, I'm going off road. So he did that.
Yeah, no. The other thing is, this is literally the only road they filmed on.
I know. It's like, I had that thought later when, like, well, Pamela, like, goes outside and they're in their Daily Bugle office, and she goes outside to meet someone, and they're in a fucking desert. I'm sorry, can I say fuck? I don't even know.
No, you can say fuck.
Yeah, you said fuck. Jesus Christ. I listened to your show, I promise. Yeah, she's just like, she goes outside and then she's in a fucking desert. I'm just like, how low was budget that they had to film it in this weird, like, Nuketown set of some kind?
And it's literally just one specific road.
Yep.
And you can recognize it because it's literally like a very distinctive path.
Mm-hmm. There's that rock. There's that rock again.
Yeah.
Oh, and that same bush next to that rock.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, we find out that Professor Sheepdip plans on blowing up the Daily Bugle. Which, by the way, they should have called it the Daily Beagle.
They should have. Maybe they already had a beagle pun in there, but not really. I don't know. Yeah, that also kind of bugged me. Why didn't they make like a weird pun off Daily Planet?
Yeah.
I don't know what that pun is, but they decided to change it to Bugle. If you guys have any good Daily Planet dog puns, tweet them. Add on air. What's your Twitter?
Unaired podcast. Tweet them out.
Unaired podcast. We want to know.
We want to know your horrible dog puns for Daily Planet.
I don't know. Is Bugle a pun? I don't know.
I don't even think so.
No.
So his plan is essentially to send his wolf henchman and a clock, a grandfather clock, to blow up the Daily Planet.
Mm-hmm.
After the wolf gets in the clock, we cut to Bark Bent's office, and the mouse pops up, and he's like, "Hey, stop leaving your half-eaten sandwiches in the drawer. It attracts mice. Ha ha ha." Because he is a mouse.
That was a moment when I wanted to take a small break, but I trudged on.
You are a better man than I?
You took a break?
Oh, this was like break 4 for me. This was very rough.
Yeah. This was on a lunch for...
It's very rough. Get it? Pun.
Oh, God. Yeah, you are basically qualified to write this show now.
I am. I gotta build a time machine, go back to 1958.
Nah, you can do it now. I think this thing is screaming for a remake.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, I have an idea. We're gonna put this in the Justice League. Just you wait.
Oh, there you go. Bruckheimer, get at us.
So the mouse is like, "Hey, how do you plan on finding Dr. Sheepdip? Why don't you look in the yellow pages?" And then it cuts to Terry Bite's office, and he's talking to Sergeant Beagle, and a clock just walks in. And the sergeant is about to leave, and he's like, oh, excuse me, clock, and just walks around the clock.
Isn't it a little weird that Sergeant Beagle reports to the press? Like, I got a real sense that the police was reporting to the media here.
I didn't even think about that, but you do have a point.
Yeah, because, like, for a brief moment when I was watching that, I was just like, holy crap, is this not a newspaper place? Like, are they all part of the law? Like, I thought maybe this was a police chief. I thought Terry Bite was a police chief, but no. Sergeant Beagle's just like, oh, shucks, I goofed. I better go tell the police how bad I did. Or no, I better go tell the press how bad I did.
Gotta go talk to Captain Bite.
Yeah. Yes, but go on.
So after Sergeant Beagle leaves, the henchman is inside the clock like, oh shit, I didn't bring a match. He pokes out of the clock, asks Terry Bite, hey, do you have a match? And Terry Bite obliges, gives him a match.
Gives him a lighter. Has a lighter.
Yeah, he gives him a light. And then Terry Bite is like, oh shit, there's a bomb going off. And he radios for Bark Bent. He doesn't radio for the police or anyone. He goes, hey, you know who's equipped to handle this? My fucking journalist employee.
The police literally just walked out. Granted, a very incompetent police sergeant, but I better get my I guess he was a reporter. He has to be a reporter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they already addressed that. Yeah, better get him in here. Doesn't make any sense.
Then he's like, oh, well, this is a job for Super Pup. And this is the first moment we actually see Super Pup in this pilot.
Yep.
He shows up, starts throwing a ton of shit out of the window because he thinks it's a bomb. And Terry's like, no, it's the clock. Dude, stop throwing shit out my window, it's the clock. Picks up the clock, starts flying it away. The henchman pops his head out and goes, hey, you can't do this, man, you gotta bring me home. He goes, okay, well, where's your home? Gives him the address. He drops him off. And rather than blowing up like a nuke, which this chemical originally did.
I was going to say that they tested it earlier, and it was just on like a paper airplane, right?
Yep, it was on a paper airplane.
And they threw it out, and it blew up like a nuke, like a nuclear weapon.
Oh yeah, there was a fucking mushroom cloud.
Mm-hmm. And that was just a small amount.
Meanwhile, he has a fucking bottle of this, gets dropped down next to Professor Sheepdip. This thing blows up, takes like a second, and then they're okay again.
They're fine.
They're perfectly fine.
Yep, that's...
So then they get back to the Daily Bugle, and Terry Bite, I keep doing that. It's so confusing.
It's completely fair.
It is.
What you're doing.
Terry Bite is pissed off that Bark Bent isn't there. And he's like, where the fuck is Bent? And Bark sneaks back into his office, changes back into his disguise of Bark Bent. And he's like, he goes into Terry's office, and is like, where were you when Professor Sheepdip tried to blow up this building? And he's like, oh, don't worry, there's no chance of that happening again. And then we get the second fourth wall break, where Professor Sheepdip is just like, that's what he thinks.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. Which leads to him calling Pamela Poodle, who I couldn't tell if she was supposed to be the Lois Lane of this. I'm assuming she was.
Must be, but they could have done that better.
They could have.
Tweet at us those Lois Lane dog puns, please.
Exactly. So he calls her and he's just like, oh, I'm so-and-so and I'm having a tea party that I want you to cover. And she says, okay, I'll go to that. And she drives through, like I said before, the same fucking desert.
The desert.
And she knocks on the door, gets pulled inside. Sheepdip has captured her.
It's pretty easy.
Very easy. And Super Pup comes into his office and says, hey, Mouse Dude, do I have any messages? And he says, oh, so-and-so has Pamela Poodle at a tea party. And he goes, oh, well, so-and-so, I forget the name of the person, It was some dumb name.
No.
And he's like, oh, well, so-and-so is at, like, vacation in Cambodia or some shit. I know that for a fact. And he's like, oh, shit, that means Pamela Poodle's in trouble.
There's no other explanation for that, of course.
Of course.
No other.
So then we cut to her tied to a rocket, and Professor Sheepdip is about to light it. Super Pup goes to save her, while Sheepdip drives away in a separate car from what he originally used.
Which they pointed out.
Yes, they pointed out.
Which I was like, why did you need to do this?
Nobody would have. I wouldn't have fucking noticed.
I think that was just the writers and the producers just tooting their horns, just like, see, we had a budget. We bought 2 cars.
We know what we're doing.
We got this.
So Jimmy Olsen Mouse pops out and goes, perhaps you're wondering why they used a different car this time. Well, it's because they're about to hit some rough terrain. So the rocket launches after Super Pup saves her, and it goes after Sheepdip's car, which, no reason for that. Literally no reason, because this is 1958. They don't have fucking computer-guided missiles. And then the car that Sheepdip is in goes off of a cliff, flips several times, explodes, and then he gets out.
And and his henchmen.
Yep,
Hench
him
dog.
and his henchmen survive. And Super Pup arrests them, essentially. And Pamela Poodle says, oh, isn't he wonderful? And it cuts to the mouse dude, Jimmy Olsen Mouse, in the drawer, going, of course he's wonderful. Everyone knows Super Pup is wonderful. And that's the end of the episode.
Really, it ended really abrupt, and I was like, oh, what did I watch?
And the end credits are basically the opening sequence of him flying through the air.
Before we get into pitches, you want to hear my grand theory about this show, this pilot?
I would love to hear it.
Okay. This whole show didn't need Super Pup. Everyone in this world that they have created is immune to bombs.
Oh, shit. I think you're right.
Think about it. 3 instances of explosions. Sergeant Bailey with the cannon blew up. Now he's fine. They showed how this nitroglycerin concoction blew up and created a mushroom cloud, and then they used a greater amount, and they survived that. And then the rocket hit their car, and they survived that. It was fine. So think about it this way. If everything had played out, Terry Bite would have survived the bomb in his office. Let's see, what's her name? Pamela would have been kidnapped, and maybe she didn't get off the nuke. She would have ridden it, but the nuke would, or the rocket would have still sought out the car and blown them up, and Sergeant Beagle would have gone in and arrested them. So I really think Sergeant Beagle is the hero.
I think you're right. I think they're all fucking Kryptonians on Earth.
Super Pup really just served as a, look at me, I'm Super Pup. Nothing. That is my grand theory.
I think you might be right. So before we get into the pitches, we're going to take a little break. It's a dragon! It's a giant toaster?
They're fighting! I wonder which thing is gonna win.
Well, I know my thing can beat your thing.
Are you serious? A toaster can beat a dragon?
Toasters can get really hot.
Dragons breathe fire.
To see how this and other battles end, find My Thing Can Beat Your Thing on iTunes and Google Play, and send your thing sightings to @ThingBeatsThing on Twitter. For MTCBYT News, I'm a news person.
All right, so Drew, had this monstrosity of a fever dream continued, what kind of episodes do you think we would have seen?
Well, I think eventually they're going to have to introduce some of those other bad guys. So I have an episode in mind where they introduce Lex Whiskors, and that is, of course, Lex Luthor. But he is a hairless cat. I think it is appropriate that this would be a hairless cat.
Oh, that makes much more sense, because I was going to go with Lab Luthor, which was the Labrador Retriever.
Ooh. Either one. I don't know.
I don't know. I think yours feels
Whis-
more right because a cat versus a dog.
I do feel that Whiskers is really kind of pushing it. I don't know. We can workshop it later.
We can.
But I had they introduce him. He despises Super Pup. Discovers radioactive chocolate from Super Pup's homeworld.
Oh, shit.
And he uses against Super Pup. Maybe gets Super Pup in some room and locks him in there with the chocolate night or whatever, and keeps him in there. Kidnaps Pamela Poodle because why not? Probably ties her up along with Terry Bite and the Minnie Olsen or whatever that mouse is. Plans to blow up the Daily Bugle. So Super Pup's trapped. What's he gonna do? Can't escape. But who's that knocking at the door? It's Sergeant Beagle. He gets in there, bumbles around. Super Pup's trying to tell him, no, get the chocolate out of here. I can't. No, get it out. And he's like throwing other stuff out the window. It's kind of a fun play on what happened in the previous episode or something.
Right.
And then eventually gets that chocolate out of there. Super Pup goes out, saves the day. It's pretty straightforward.
Oh, I enjoy it, though.
Yeah.
I always love callbacks to the pilot.
Yeah, and who better to do it than Sergeant Bugle? Jesus. Sergeant Beagle.
I threw you off with that Daily Beagle pun.
You did. My boy, my main boy, my good boy.
So I'm going to say, I like your Lex Whiskers rather than my Lab Luthor. So I'm going to modify my pitch for an episode real quick. So Lex Whiskers decides he's going to create the opposite Super Pup. Instead of Bizarro, he's going to create Bark Zorro.
Yes.
And
I know Joke have a list of stupid puns for Superman villains, and Pup Zorro, and then also I wrote Bark Zorro was below. So I'm glad we had the same thought process.
Oh, believe me, I got 2 more dumb puns.
Oh, good.
So, Bark Zorro is going to show up. Whiskers is going to kidnap Super Pup and send Bark Zorro in to ruin Bark Bent's career and be like, oh, he's going to be reporting on stupid shit like, oh, there's a human that's just kind of chilling by the corner. And Terry Bite's going to be like, that's not news. That's just a stray human. Which, in my mind, humans replace dogs in this world and dogs replace humans.
Really? Yeah, they had a 20-minute pilot, but they have created something truly horrible.
Oh, yeah.
That lets your imagination run wild.
And that's going to come back.
Oh, good.
I just want you to know, Crypto the Super Dog is a thing. That's going to come back.
Oh, boy.
So, essentially, Whisker's plan is to ruin Bark Bent's career because he knows Bark Bent is Super Pup. So, eventually, someone's going to be like, oh, shit, I want to adopt this human. And Terry Bite's going to be like, oh, well, I guess your article was a success, Bark Bent. And it turns out that article won a Puplitzer Prize.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was low-hanging fruit, but...
It was. But that's the fruit I can reach.
I like it. That's the best fruit.
It is the best fruit. It's the tastiest fruit.
Man.
Do you have any other pitches?
Yeah, I'm trying to process yours. I'm just imagining a naked human so wait, you mentioned Crypto, and maybe you don't want to edit this out, but is Crypto a human? Because
Crypto is a human, and I appreciate the fact that you imagine him as a naked human because it's exactly how I imagine him.
we're on the same wavelength here, I guess. Yeah, I had another one. Picture this. There's a episode that comes out, and Bark finally gets the courage to ask Pamela out on a date, and she says yes. And then this is where it gets a little walky, a little weird, but maybe you can help me fill in the blanks. But then maybe before the date, Super Pup delivers flowers to Pamela with the intent of them being from Bark Bent, like maybe to impress her a little more, like, hey, I'm friends with Super Pup.
Uh-huh.
But then there's some like really bad communication between the two of them, between Pamela and Super Pup. And basically the conversation ends with those two also having a date, but at the same time as the one with Bark Bent.
Oh.
So then Pamela realizes what she's done. And she's like, oh no. So then it turns into that classic trope of, two dates at the same time, her running back and forth. But the twist is, of course, that Bark, in order to preserve his, keep up appearances and whatnot, Bark is also flying back and forth, changing costumes rapidly and trying to also, like, he knows what she's doing, but he's also trying to preserve his secret identity. I'm not sure if it's at the same restaurant. I don't know.
See, I really like that because there are versions of Superman where, like, Lois Lane is dating Superman but doesn't know that he's Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
So that really plays on that. I love that.
Exactly. And I knew I had to get that classic trope in there, and then I realized, wait, no, this can't happen unless, oh, wait. It's even better this way. I don't know. Did you have any ideas of how in the world they could end up having a date together? I was trying to, in my mind, like, what if Super Pup thinks that he's talking to her as Bark Bent on the phone, but she thinks it's, I don't know.
See, I was too strung out looking for a pun to make Lois Lane a character.
Yeah, I'm hung up on that too.
I was like, Lois Bane? No, that's a Batman villain.
Yeah, I don't know. What's a dog breed? Lois Dane?
Oh, shit, you figured it out. I didn't even think of that, and I Googled dog breeds before I wrote my pitches.
I just happened to Google dog breeds right then, and their number 7 is Great Dane. But then she's obviously a poodle. It would be really weird if she was a Great Dane.
That's true.
But hey, I don't think they really cared.
No, it was 1958. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They thought smoking was cool.
I mean, it is kind of cool. No, it's not. Don't smoke.
Don't smoke, kids.
Don't smoke, kids. All you kids out there. Don't you fucking smoke. Yeah, and so then I don't know what a date with Super Pup looks like, or how she could feasibly, like, is Super Pup sitting in the same restaurant as Bark Bent, except on a different level or something? How weird is it to have Super Pup in the same restaurant? Do they? I don't know. It's just a lot of unknowns, but this is 1958. You could get away with a lot.
So this just occurred to me.
Yeah.
Do you think there would have been like a Batman versus Super Pup, but like a Barkman versus Super Pup?
Initially, when I was thinking of this, I thought maybe there was Catman, but then I was just like, no, if he's Batman, he's kind of got to be a bat. Maybe they just lean full in, but it could be Barkman.
Damn.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's safe to assume that all the other DC characters exist in this universe that they have birthed, unfortunately. So yeah, there's the Flash, except the Flash is always hung up on chasing the mail truck or something. Wonder Woman is a dog.
She likes to be dressed up.
Of course. I'm just imagining a dog with the bracers, and I was like, oh, that's real cute. That's real, aw.
Martian Manhunter, a dog that always acts like a different dog.
Shape-shifting dog.
Yeah.
Green Lantern. Yeah, it's pretty much just a dog Green Lantern. I'm sure in the Green Lantern canon there is a dog Green Lantern.
Oh, of course. If they have Deadpool Dogpool, they have Dog Green Lantern.
Yeah. Cyborg. Cyborg. Yeah, it pretty much writes itself. I guess I can see what the writers were going for. The easy route. The low-hanging fruit.
They were going for an easy paycheck.
Yeah.
So I feel like there could have been an episode with Mr. Mixospitalik.
Oh. I definitely thought about doing him too, but then I was like, no, his name is too hard to say, so I'm glad you're doing it. Yes.
Yeah. So Mr. Mixospitalik is essentially kind of like a wizard character. He's very magic. He can kind of do whatever he wants.
Mm.
So I figure he shows up but he's Mr. Mixus Piddle-Ix. But like Piddle, like peeing on a rug.
He's not potty trained.
He's not potty trained.
Oh, poor little guy.
And his plan is he wants to just really meet Super Pup. So he just starts peeing on everything until Super Pup comes to meet him. That's his kind of ultimatum to the press, is like, hey, I'm going to keep peeing on your shit until Super Pup talks to me. And this is the same episode where we meet Crypto, the superhuman, where Bark Bent adopts a human.
This is from earlier.
Yeah, who he finds out is actually a human from Krypton and is very super. Much like his pet, and much like Superman's pet, Crypto the Super Dog. Kind of flipping that script.
Would this Crypto be played by George Reeves?
You know what? I think it would have to be.
It would make sense.
So, after he meets Mr. Mixus Piddle-Ix, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna drop all these charges of you urinating in public if you and my dog, Crypto, or you and my human Crypto, end up potty training together. So there's like a montage of them getting potty trained together.
I'm trying to make now a human pun on Crypto, and all I've got is like Crypt Bob or something.
Oh, believe me, there's Cryptoby.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Is Mixie. Is he the one that you have to trick into saying his name backwards? Or am I thinking of someone else?
Nope, that's him.
That's him. Trying to think how that's probably a driving factor in this.
Maybe he trains Cryptoby to pee Mixus Piddle-Ix's name backwards in the snow.
That's a real smart dog.
Yeah, real smart human.
Human. You can teach an old human new tricks.
Exactly.
Perfect. My last idea was kind of a rough finale. I didn't know if you had any other ones to go through.
So I have one more before you get to your finale. I'll
Sure.
do that. That way you can get into your finale.
Do it.
So I figure we're going to bring General Zod in, but he's going to be General Dog because Zod spelled backwards is almost dog.
I named him General Pod in my list.
Oh, did we both go for General Zod?
No, I seriously went through and just made a list. Like he doesn't play into any of my pitches at all.
So General Dog is officially the last pup of Krypton, and they call themselves, instead of the Kryptonians, they're the Cryptobermans.
Oh my God, yes.
So he's trying to make a Cryptoberman colony on the moon. So he shows up on Earth to try and steal all the kibble. And Superdog tries to fuck him up and be like, yo, we need this kibble. Bye. And that's kind of my synopsis of that pitch.
And that's all you really needed in 1958.
And then Zack Snyder, little baby Zack Snyder, would come in and be like, snap his neck.
And then cry about it.
And then cry about it.
Do you want to hear the rest of my list?
Oh, I would love to hear the rest of your list.
So I had Bark Zorro. I had Metal Super Pup. I mean, it only makes sense.
Of course.
Lex Whiskors, General Pod, Steppenwolf.
Oh, my God.
Barkside, of course. And then Parasite, really no clever name with that one. It's just Super Pup should really check himself for worms after that fight.
He's got to look for ringworm.
Yeah.
Or heartworm.
That's a thing in this universe. They have to keep up on their own heartworms.
That's true. Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention earlier.
Yeah.
I mentioned bringing Super Pup into the Justice League, the hit film. So this is have you seen the Justice League?
I have, yes.
Okay, so this is a spoiler. If anybody hasn't seen it, kind of skip ahead 5 minutes just to be safe. I figure when they revive Superman, they dig up his body and throw him in the rebirthing pod. Maybe a dog runs in and jumps in right as the Flash, like, hits him with lightning.
Charges that up.
Exactly. And then Super Pup is born. And it's just Clark Kent with a dog head. And that's how they combat the fucking fake mustache. Because that looks horrible.
It was real bad. You could really tell in that first scene.
Yeah.
Now, is
literally like 99% of the scenes with Henry Cavill have that CGI upper lip.
I think I really only noticed it in the first part because it was really focused on Superman, that video that they had of him.
Literally
really
the first scene, you notice it.
Could tell. But then, like, after that, I didn't much notice it because I was just like, oh, yeah, what's going on? What are we doing? Who's fighting? All right. So I think I need to go back for a second view and really focus on that upper lip, which is, you know, you have your chronological views, you have your first time views, you have your Blu-ray views, whatever. For this, unfortunately, we have to have an upper lip view.
To look at Henry Cavill's upper lip.
God, and just analyze that. God, it was horrible.
It was so bad.
It's bad.
I think there was one scene that didn't have his CGI'd mustache out.
Man, that means their reshoots were pretty extensive then.
Oh, yeah. You know what bothered me? They didn't have the black Superman suit.
Yeah.
Which they teased on Twitter.
They had it apparently in earlier cuts. I don't know. They just announced today that they are going to be releasing an extended cut, I believe. With the Joss Whedon influence in it, I guess. I still am very confused about who directed that movie. I still don't know.
Oh, you're not the only one.
Okay. Good.
So yeah, let's get into your series finale.
Well, it's kind of a loose idea, and I was hoping we could maybe flesh it out. But I think it's got to be a huge crossover event because I don't think this is getting a season 2. So why not go all in? So it's going to be kind of like Spider-Verse, except they cross over with the Adventures of Superman. So we get George Reeves in there, but not only that, we get other super animals in there. Maybe there's one where it's kind of like Spider-Gwen, except it'd be the poodle, whatever her name, Pamela, is the Super Pup. Of course, there's got to be a universe where Sergeant Beagle is the Super. He's my boy. And then, of course, there's got to be an Injustice Super Pup. That is seriously all I had. I didn't know. And I was just like, and then play together is kind of my finale.
A Super Pup who thinks that not all pups are good pups.
Yes. Yeah, the Injustice Super Pup. Yeah, Maybe the finale is a parody on the Super Bowl puppy thing that they do. They're all playing
Puppy Bowl.
the Puppy Bowl. There we go. They're playing that or something. And of course, this is all orchestrated by Barkside.
Oh my God. I didn't even think of that pun. You just blew my mind.
It's a good one. It was right there. Had to.
That was the lowest hanging fruit.
It was on. It was drooped down, touching the ground, and I took it. That means it's the heaviest, sweetest. A lot of fruit on that fruit. That's what that means.
So much fruit on that fruit.
Yeah, so that's kind of my finale. I don't know if you had a better finale or if we could talk more about that.
I mean, I feel like you kind of nailed it, like a multiverse Super Pup.
Huge crisis.
Crisis on Infinite Pups.
Yes. Oh, perfect. There it is, the title.
There we go.
Darkseid. Lex Whiskers has got to be in there.
Of course. He's the one that channeled Barkside.
There's got to be a weird moment where Superman from the normal Superman meets Cryptoby.
Exactly.
And they have a weird little why am I wearing a leash and naked?
And then he realized he has a BDSM fetish.
Oh, and then and that's why that show was canceled.
Exactly, because he's like, oh, leash and naked. Ooh.
I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me.
Like
Lois. Lois. I have an idea.
I love that Community reference because I've been rewatching Community the past 3 weeks.
It's a good show.
It's a fantastic show. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. I want to thank Drew for being here. Drew, this was a phenomenal episode. If anybody wants to find you, where can they find you?
Well, as I mentioned, Headline Heroes, our podcast or my podcast. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever, mostly wherever podcasts are found. Just find us. You can find us. We're there, and also we have a Twitter. It's at headline_heroes. And then also I have my personal Twitter, I guess I can throw out there, at Drew D. Mick.
Yeah. And also our Twitter stuff, we're at Unaired Podcast. We have a Facebook page. Just search Unaired or an Unaired Podcast. It'll show up. We have an Instagram, which is also at Unaired Podcast. Other than that, that's about it. Subscribe. Write a review on iTunes for both Unaired and Headline Heroes. It's a great show.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Your show is phenomenal.
Thank you.
So, other than that, I'm Ed.
And I'm Drew.
And just remember, some things are better left unaired. Bye.
Bye.
Writers tend to be lonely and trapped in their own heads. Daniel Ford and I founded the Writer's Bone podcast so writers could have a place to share those crazy thoughts within them without being thrown into an insane asylum.
We didn't want to be stiff, crusty academics or condescending masters clutching their literary secrets like purloined treasure, which is why you'll notice our early episodes are about bacon jam and the worst jobs we've ever had. Sean Toohey then had the great idea to interview our favorite authors and screenwriters, and the rest is podcast history.
Our mission is to champion authors and screenwriters of all stripes. We offer inspiration or a swift kick to the pen when needed. From authors like Michael Connelly, Nicole Blades, to screenwriters like Doug Richardson and Lexi Alexander. Our interviews give our listeners a bolder understanding of the industry that they're crazy enough to jump into.
Sean, you can't mention Doug without hashtag nicest guy in Hollywood. I talked to Gary. It's in the contract he sent over. I'm sorry. We're bound to it.
That contract is killing us. Do you know I have to give up my firstborn? I mean, I'm not going to have one. And what I actually gave them was a baby goat wrapped in a blanket like a baby. But that's not the point. Let me go back. Like screenwriters like hashtag nicest guy in Hollywood, Doug Richardson.
You can subscribe to Writer's Bone on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Head over to writersbone.com to check out our original fiction, essays, boneyard discussions, and more.
You can also stalk us on Twitter and Instagram at WritersBone and on Facebook at facebook.com/WritersBone.
We look forward to your ears, and in the meantime, Sean, what can people do?
Keep writing, everyone.